are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Airboy on Twitter. Here to talk the latest in Auburn athletics news as the NFL draft was this weekend. And I'm going to talk about this before I go into the predictions of the Auburn depth chart, because it's a whole different layout than what we're going with right now. So I just want to start off by congratulating Auburn's 3 draftees for getting a chance to go to the next level. Jarquez Hunter started off in the round 4, pick 117, getting taken to the Los Angeles Rams. Keandre Lambert-Smith going round 5, pick 158 to the LA Chargers. And rounding out the 3, Jalen McLeod getting picked up in round 6, pick 194 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Quez was an obvious pick here for anybody because best thing about this pick for him was Sean McVay said he was the best running back on the board for them since like day one. That's what it sounded like, saying he's a man's man, which we've all watched Jarquez Hunter through the past few years. Dude is different. I think he deserved a lot more respect going into this draft than what he got. KLS, I mean, dude, I don't know how he flew under the radar as bad as he did. I'm gonna sound very biased towards a lot of these guys, but KLS, dude, was absolutely ridiculous for Auburn this past season. And then Jalen McLeod, rounding out the year, leading Auburn in sacks after Keldrick Fox started getting double teamed. Shockingly enough, Eugene Asante went undrafted this year. I'd say this year, like he'd be drafted next year. But Eugene Asante did not get drafted. He ended up signing with the Miami Dolphins as well as a few other Tigers. Now, you talk about the only 3 guys getting drafted from Auburn. Let me do the math here real quick. 10, 11 Tigers got signed. Unless I missed one, it's 11 signed to an undrafted free agent contract. So Eugene Asante going to Miami. I expect him to make a roster. Rivaldo Fairweather going off to the Dallas Cowboys. I think, again, a guy with enough talent to make it to the NFL level. And then all over the place, Philip Bleedy, I'm going to kind of jump to him. I could see him sticking on a roster. He signed with the Tennessee Titans. Now, for guys that I think might struggle with the roster, like with staying on one, Jason Jones on Baltimore. I don't really know how that will pan out. Jason Jones, very talented guy, but I just don't know if he has the production to really stick around with a team that's heavy on defense. Up next, Austin Keys and Dorian Mausi are a tandem of linebackers going to Minnesota. Now, Dorian Mausi, for sure tackler, but I don't know if he transitions to the NFL level. Something like Austin Keys, but I think Austin Keys, more athletic, could definitely make that. Robert Lewis also going to Minnesota. Auburn had a quad 4 players go to Minnesota through undrafted free agency. Robert Lewis and, of course, Oscar Chapman going to Minnesota as well. Isaiah Rakes going to the Titans with Philip Bleedy. So you got 2 teams that 3 D linemen from Auburn that are going to the NFL level. And then lastly, but certainly not least, Peyton Thorne signs with the Cincinnati Bengals, trying to find their future after the Joe Burrow era, and doing that with Peyton Thorne. Now, a lot of people have Auburn's gotten some backlash from fans, or mostly Hugh Freeze has, because of the lack of Auburn draftees. Now, a lot of these guys aren't really Hugh Freeze. I mean, they're transfers. He's passed the 2 of them, but Jarquez Hunter was a Brian Harsin recruit. Now, next year, you're going to probably start having some of those conversations about Auburn players going in the first couple rounds. Keldrick Fox, for instance, should be a day 1 guy. And I'm talking the first top 32 pick right there. And it's not top 10, if not top 5. And, of course, Keldrick Fox should be number 1 overall in any mock draft. But if Auburn has a season that we're pretty much expecting them to, and wanting them to, you could see a lot of Auburn names get picked up, or some guys leave early to go to the draft, and that's what Auburn needs to see. You need that constant rotation. It's the blueprint that Nick Saban did at Bama. It's the blueprint that Georgia's doing with Kirby Smart. It's the blueprint that all these championship-winning caliber programs are doing. They're that constant rotation of picking up blue-chip recruits and putting them in the NFL. Now, Auburn has been getting blue chip recruits. Now it's time to start getting them to the NFL. Keldrick Fox, I mean, he'd be the first Freeze high school recruit to go to the NFL draft from Auburn. So huge later on conversation to have, because you got to have that constant rotation of guys going to the league. So as we go into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, we're going to be predicting Auburn's starting lineup. Now I got to adjust the screen here for a little bit, so bear with me. There we go. Offense. So this is my starting 11, and I just got to get rid of that for a second. Starting 11 for the Auburn Tigers in 2025. Starting at quarterback, of course, I have Jackson Arnold. No shocker there. Everyone and their mother knows Jackson Arnold is the starting quarterback for the Auburn Tigers in 2025. It's kind of hard not to pick that. Deuce Knight had a very good spring, and it's the highest praise that a quarterback can get is the fact that he was talked about religiously from every outlet, from the coaches. Deuce Knight is the future of Auburn football. He's not the present. So Jackson Arnold goes into this season as a starting quarterback, and it's his job to lose in the fall. And that's simple and easy as that. I think Jackson Arnold is the right guy for the job. I think he has the talent level. It's all about keeping those interceptions and the turnovers to a minimum. And if you freezes half the developer he claims to be for the quarterback position, you're given the most talented quarterback you've had as a power four or just head coach in general in college football. So Jackson Arnold, the starting quarterback for the Auburn Tigers in 2025. Starting at running back, and of course we talk about this being a running back by committee. Damari Alston is going to get the bulk of the carries here. Now Jeremiah Cobb has had a good spring as well, and he's going to get his fair share of carries and touches, as well as will Darrell Robinson whenever he is healthy. But Damari has worked his butt off as the backup running back for the past 2 seasons. And same thing with Jarquez Hunter. He has that same mentality as Jarquez. Jarquez was behind Tank Bigsby. Then he got his chance, and he balled out. And he's 4th all-time in Auburn career rushing yards. Should be a lot higher, but load management, I guess, happens with coaching staffs. But Damari Alston will go into this year as the RB1, as he should. Damari has a lot of talent, a lot of speed, a lot of ferocity while running the football. Definitely a guy who is an Auburn man through and through. If he has a good enough season, I mean, you could see him jumping up there with Jarquez Hunter and getting drafted in the NFL draft. I think Damari is the best option at running back to get the bulk of the carries, and I think he proved that in the spring. I know there was some. I mentioned a few times that I think he could definitely lose his job to Cobb or Darrell Robinson, but I think he shut me up very quickly when I saw him and how he portrayed himself in the spring. So Damari Alston is the RB1 for Auburn football this season. Wide receivers are, well, for the first 2, I don't think it's that hard, but so it's going to be a rotating group, and it's, the best wide receiver room in the SEC. It's going to be very hard to really figure out who's going to be that other outside guy. So starting off, Cam Coleman is your, no doubt about it, that Cam Coleman is your starting wide receiver. He is going to be your outside guy, your X guy, always on the field whenever the offense gets out there for the first time. Cam Coleman, without a doubt, has an opportunity to prove himself to be the best wide receiver in the SEC, and I think he has all the talent in the world to do so. Just need to have the production from a quarterback to get you there. So I think Cam Coleman is the obvious pick right there. I just have wide receivers list. I don't have slots, but starting at the slot, I have Eric Singleton. And of course, you bring in the number 1 wide receiver transfer in the portal. He's kind of going to get shoehorned in for a spot there. Now, Malcolm Simmons, of course, is going to be getting a lot of touches on the field as well. He's going to be everywhere. That's what he did in high school. Malcolm Simmons played every single position that the coaches allowed him to play. And I think he's still going to get on the field a good amount. But I think starting off on the year, at least, Eric Singleton will be your starting slot guy. And with his speed, and Malcolm's speed is the same thing. I think that Malcolm can come in here to be more of your gadget guy. And I think he works out very well in that. And he's going to get his opportunities on the outside, on the inside, and probably in the backfield too. Returning punts, returning kicks. You're going to see Malcolm everywhere this year. But I think whenever it comes to the starting slot guy, I think you have Eric Singleton right there. Other outside guy. Now, this one I had to think about. and I had to give it to the guy who had the best spring out of any other player on the field at any given time. That's Perry Thompson. Perry Thompson is going to have himself a year to remember because he's disappointed in how the season went last year, as was everybody. Everybody wanted to see more Perry Thompson. And there's no telling why it was that he did not get to see the field more last year, or, who's to say what it is, really. But with how Perry presented himself in the A-Day game, he made every catch. When the ball went his way, it was not a 50-50 ball. It was an 80-20 ball. It was a 90-10 ball because Perry Thompson was not about to let any ball go through his hands that was catchable, and he showed out. Perry Thompson, I think, has earned that spot to be on the outside alongside of Cam. Now, again, Eric Singleton could be here and put Malcolm in the slot. Horatio Fields could also play a spot here, but I think Horatio is going to be another guy you rotate in. I think Horatio works a lot better as your third and short guy. I think when it's third and short and you try to get your heavy set in there, get Horatio. Because if you go watch Horatio Fields highlights or just watching him play at Wake Forest, you're not seeing a guy who's running a fade or running a streak or running a post route. He's running curls. He's running outs. He's running ins. He's running slants because he knows how to get inside, get the yards he needs to get, and catch the football. So I think Horatio Fields definitely has the spark there to be Auburn's chance to, in the red zone, in those third and shorts, those second and shorts, those, when Auburn gets inside the 10 and they need a for sure target and they got Cam Coleman, it also helps to have Horatio Fields. For sure hands, especially in the end zone. So Horatio could have been an argument here, but I think starting off, I think you're going to see Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson on the outsides. And it's what Auburn wants to see. And you're going to see the entire Freeze 4 this year. Bryce Cain's red shirt is burnt up. He's going to be on the field too. You got a lot of wide receivers to watch this year. Sam Turner, another guy that I didn't put on this list. I think he's going to be a guy behind Cam. So you have this entire wide receiver group, and there's even more guys to get excited for. Derek and Eric Smith are going to be here soon, and I can't wait to see how those two kind of how they show out because you have. Make sure I don't get it wrong. Derek, I believe, is I'm going to have to pull up the roster, and because one of them is more of your athletic type, the faster one, and the other one is 6'6", and you go up and get a guy. So I'm going to have to really just pull that up to make sure. I think Eric is the 6'6" one. I was thinking, yes, Eric is 6'6". Derek is your 6'1" wide receiver, which wins, by the way. So. They haven't been on campus yet, or not been enrolled yet, but super stoked to see how the entire wide receiver room kind of shows out. Now, tight end could be a question mark going into this year, not because I think it's going to be a bad position, but because I don't think there's really a pass catcher with experience on the field yet. So you have, and I think there was a rumor, or I don't know if it's been actually reported that Rico Walker will be entering the portal. That leaves Preston Howard to be probably your best pass catching tight end. Brendan Frazier, though, I do expect to get the start because of his seniority. At this point, Brendan Frazier is going to be 37 years old. Not really, but from just what I saw on the field, he's going to be more of your what's the word I'm looking for here? Your check down guy. There you go. Your safety blanket. That's what I'm looking for. So, of course, Brendan Frazier is 6'7", and he's going to be mostly a blocker. Get him in there, get an extra blocker on the field, and then, push a guy back and then go for a little out route. I think that's going to be where you're going to see Brendan Frazier strive the most this year. I don't think Auburn uses tight ends nearly as much as they did the past 2 years with Rivaldo Fairweather. Next year will be another conversation to have with Preston Howard and Hollis Davidson and Ryan Gee all in that little rotation. But I think with this year kind of being a gap year for tight ends, I think you could see mostly Preston Howard getting the bulk of those receptions. But I think Brendan Frazier you'll see on the field more often than not. So that's my pick for tight end going into this season. Now, the offensive line, I think is a position group that Auburn really touched on very well going into the portal because your interior offensive line was solid last year. Dylan Wade, Connor Lew, and Jeremiah Wright. That's the same three going into this year. Very solid group. Best center in the country, ? With Connor Lew. Now, left tackle and right tackle, I think the starters are the ones you picked up in the portal. Xavier Chaplin came in, the highest rated offensive lineman in the portal. Massive pickup. And you don't really get that out of the transfer portal that much. You don't really get those offensive linemen that are those X factor level players. And I think Auburn got one. Xavier Chaplin, I'm not going to say anything about how good he could be because the last time I did that, I was 0 for 2 on both of those. So I'm not going to compare him to anybody else from Auburn history. But I think Xavier Chaplin is one of those tackles you bring in to bring your O-line to the next level. So I'm super stoked to see him. I think he has an opportunity to be the most valuable transfer Auburn brought in from this past cycle. Super stoked to see how Xavier Chaplin plays in his first year on the Plains. Now, right tackle, I think it's more of a question mark. You could probably see one of those guys from last year coming in and starting here, but I think Mason Murphy gets to start right now. You bring him in from USC, strong, physical right tackle. And of course, this is a group that's going to be ever rotating. I mean, you're going to see DeAndre Carter. You're going to see Broderick Scholl, more than likely. You're going to see a lot of guys rotating in and out in this group too. And that's something I really love about how the O-line has been over the past few years. It's not been horrendous. There have been players that have been bad, Percy Lewis, but there have been a lot of strides taken to make the offensive line a high point of the Auburn offense going into this year. I think that this group, again, is one of the better groups we've seen in recent memory. I think Xavier Chaplin, again, when this season is said and done, we will be talking about Xavier Chaplin as one of the biggest transfer portal acquisitions this season in college football. Not just on Auburn. I think in college football, Xavier Chaplin is going to be one of those high-tier level transfer acquisitions ending out the year. So I was super stoked when Auburn got Chaplin. It's just that big of a pickup, especially after what happened last year with Percy Lewis. So yeah, super stoked to see Auburn's offensive line moving in the right direction. So we're going to quick little break. I want to shout out the people in the comments real quick. Trevor Thornton, War Eagle to you as well. Lauren Collins, War Eagle. That is my fiance. So going to quick little break. Other side of this break, we'll talk about the Auburn defense and how I think this group could end up being top 5 in the SEC. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program. And of course, it's available on thewarreport.com. Check it out on the shop. It's going to be on the second page. It's $25 each for one, and then $50 for both. That's what items you can wear in your entire life. Of course, only one way to support the channel. Best way to support the channel, of course, by liking the video, by commenting on the video, and of course, by sharing it and subscribing and doing all that nice stuff. Of course, if you're going to share it, make sure to use hashtag #FeelingLoopy. Let us know you're watching. Let us know you are sharing and a part of the College Loop family, being a looper by using hashtag #FeelingLoopy. So, that being said, going to go on with the remainder of the show. Auburn's defense. You bring back DJ Durkin. You paid a pretty penny for DJ Durkin as well. Ohio State really wanted Durkin. And a lot of the staff was wanted by a lot of football teams around the country. A lot of those contenders wanted Auburn coaches. But Auburn was able to retain the majority of them going into this upcoming season. War Eagle to you as well, Todd Jordan. So, Auburn's defense. Now, there were some portal what's the word? There were some portal players or some players that left in the portal. There we go. That's a better way of saying that. But I don't think anyone that left was going to be a big player going into this season. I think all the players that left were leaving because of playing time. And I think it's because this young group that came in and the group that came back, I think that they are ridiculously good. So I'm super stoked to see how this defense plays going into next year, because you got a lot of players who were either transfers in from a years back, or were freshmen last year who didn't get a whole lot of opportunities, or some guys who are actual dogs who got knocked out by an injury last year during the best game of their career at Auburn, and now they have a chance to start for the remainder of the season. Well, hint to who I'm talking about right there. So starting at defensive end, of course, Keldrick Falk will be starting for Auburn on the defensive line. No shocker there. A guy who's projected to be a top 10 pick in next year's NFL draft, a guy who, was a couple double teams away from breaking Nick Fairley's season sack record. And again, just probably the best player on the team. Best returning defensive player probably in the country. And I'm willing to take the ridicule on saying that, but I fully believe Keldrick Falk will be talked about as the best defensive player in the country by the end of the season. I think he is just that good. So super stoked to see him. I mean, it was starting off the depth chart, you kind of just fill in spots automatically. Keldrick Falk was the first guy you fill in. Defensive line and the interior of the defensive line. I'm looking at Bobby Travis here starting at the defensive tackle position. He's more of a nose tackle too, but last year, you didn't really see a whole lot of him. First year here, you didn't see a lot of him. He was only in about 3 games. Last year, though, 14 tackles in the year, 2 tackles and a TFL against Arkansas. He made a lot of strides in the right direction leaving last year, and then you go into the spring, dude showed out. And this interior defensive line, of course, DJ Durkin runs his defense and everybody's going to play. If you were good enough to play, you're going to get on the field during every game. That's how DJ Durkin runs it. It's a constant rotation. All 11 guys could go off the field after a play, and the whole new 11 comes back on. That's how Durkin runs his defense. I think it works out very well for Auburn. And, I think Travis it was really good this spring. He really cemented himself. He was one of the stars of A-Day, one of the stars of the spring. So super stoked to see how he performs in his first year as the starting defensive tackle. And another guy I have starting a defensive tackle is, of course, Malik Blockton. Now, if you know me, there are a few guys on this team that I talk about heavily. I'm stoked to see Malik Blockton get the starting reps. I mean, him and Malik Autry are going to be absolutely ridiculous when they're on the field together. I'm telling you, Malik mayhem is going to happen. But again, this defensive line is going to have a lot of guys interweaving in and out. You're going to see a lot of Jordan Crawford, Malik Autry. You're going to see these young guys getting in and showing out as well. I mean, it's just how Durkin runs his defense. And I think these two are the best 2 available. I think Malik Blockton going into his sophomore year is really going to emerge. I mean, this defensive line is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be ridiculous. And then moving on to the last little position there, edge rusher, coming back from last year, Keyron Crawford. He had a game where I think he balled out, but really with Jalen McLeod and Keldrick Falk kind of taking the spotlight away, you didn't really get to hear a lot of Keyron Crawford, but a physical pass rusher nonetheless that's going to get his opportunity this season to really showcase what he has. I mean, he was a dog at Arkansas State. I think he's going to be dog this year. And of course, edge rushers are all over the place with Auburn defense. You're going to probably see J.J. Falk. You're going to see Jeremiah Smith. You're going to see Chris Murray. You're going to see a lot of these. It's going to be you're going to blink and you're going to see a whole new unit on the field for the defensive line. So now going on to probably the weakest position group in terms of just having enough depth, but a group that I think could really surprise a lot of us, really. Especially because the 2 starters are guys that I think are going to ball out. Starting off with DeMarcus Riddick at linebacker. Dude, I've been super – since I heard about DeMarcus Riddick and whenever he flipped his commitment, or I don't know if he flipped his commitment, but whenever he signed with Auburn or committed to Auburn, it was a big deal because it's a guy who is just so athletic and is playing linebacker. Dude, I mean, if you play College Ball 25 – this is a video game reference. I started DeMarcus Riddick right away. He is so fun to play with on the field. And he transitions that into IRL, actually, because he is just so athletic. He is so good. He plays with a fire in his heart. It's so fun watching Riddick play. And I was so glad to get to see him last year. And I think he's going to ball out this year as the starting linebacker. Now he's got a new number. moving on from 16, going to number 6. So I think I like 16. I think it's a rare linebacker number. I think it worked out very well for him, but I don't hate 6. Austin Keys wore it well last year. But I think Marcus Rick's going to be a very, very good linebacker and a guy you can trust in coverage or watching the quarterback, because you got a lot of mobile quarterbacks to keep an eye on in the SEC. So DeMarcus Riddick, very, very good player, and I can't wait to see how he does in his first full year as a starter. Now, side by side next to him is Robert Woodyard, rocking number 0 this year. Of course, Robert Woodyard, a guy Auburn flipped from Alabama, dude, ages ago, and going into his junior year. Woodyard, I've been it was a timetable, not a timetable, but it was a slow process of seeing when exactly was going to be his time. You brought in Eugene, and of course Eugene had that 1 year where he just was a scout guy, and then he emerged the next year and just absolutely balled out. And Robert kind of fell off a map in a way, and then has been fighting back to get back into the rotation. And every year you've seen just more and more of them. And last year you saw a good chunk of them. Now this year you're going to see Robert Woodyard in all of his glory going into this season. I think Robert Woodyard has finally emerged as a true linebacker that Auburn can rely on. Now sometimes it was a speed issue, but I think right now Robert Woodyard is in the best shape he can possibly be in, because I'm looking at his time here. 2022 was in 4 games. He was mostly a scout team. He was a scout team player of the year. 2023 action in 3 games. Last year 17 tackles, 3 tackles for loss in the year. I think you're going to see. I don't want to say double that. I want to say triple, quadruple that. Robert Woodyard is going to be a guy you're going to trust to plug in those gaps, trust to get the running back down when he needs to get down, and keep an eye on tight end. You're going to be able to trust Robert Woodyard this year more than you've been able to thus far, because he's going to get way more reps this season than he did last year. Now, the secondary. I think the secondary is going to be legit. I think in all of its glory, it's going to be legit, because you have some young guys and Jay Crawford starting at the outside corner position. Crawford, last year Keontae Scott moved from the nickel to the outside, and that did not work out well. It did not. It was a catastrophe and a half. So Jay Crawford steps in because Auburn's depth of the DB was terrible, and a freshman to go in there and show that he was ready to play in the SEC right away. And I think he got maybe an interception, but whenever you were as good as Jay Crawford was last year, you don't really get the ball thrown your way that much. So I think Jay Crawford is going to this year, and he's going to be Auburn's top guy at DB. And the best part about that is the guy behind him would be the number 1 DB for any other team in the country. And that is a nice little pairing with him and Kyan Lee. I think Kyan Lee, again, is another stud man-to-man guy. Auburn has a brand at DB, and it's those hard-nosed man-to-man in-your-face corners. And I think you have 2 great ones in Jay Crawford and Kay Lee going into this season. And a guy I'm really excited for is a guy who I think is going to be playing that star position or the nickelback position. That's Champ Anthony. Champ Anthony is one of my favorite players on this team. Now, coming up from JUCO, I was super excited for him because I watched this kid play, and he is 5'11", 180 pounds going into this year. I assure you he was smaller than that 2 years ago in JUCO. And dude would light up anybody in front of him. He didn't care about their family. He didn't care about how big they were. He was going to run through you no matter what. That's what I really love about Champ Anthony. He plays with that chip on his shoulder. He is a dog on the field, and he was having the best game of his career against Arkansas, and tragedy struck and knocked him out for the year. Now, getting back from an injury, I think Champ Anthony is going to be back at that star role. I think he's going to be the starter going into this year. Champ Anthony I love watching him play. He is so fun to watch, and the energy he plays with is absolutely ridiculous. And if half of us went into the day with half the energy that Champ Anthony goes in for every play, we get a lot done in this world. I just let you know that. So super stoked to see Champ Anthony in the limelight, and I think he is going to show out this season. Now, safeties are a pair of young guys. You got starting off with Caleb Harris is going to be playing more of the free safety route. Going to be back in coverage more. Caleb Harris, again, it can also step up and play the star role. Last year, a very athletic guy that showed out early, and you knew Caleb Harris's name early. I think he was one of the first freshmen last year you really got to hear from like as soon as the season started. So I think that you're going to hear a lot more of him as the starter because he is going to make some noise. And he's going to be paired up with another sophomore in Sylvester Smith. And these two are going to form a nice little tandem. And I love how young Auburn's defensive back room is. And watching how they're going to grow over time is really going to be beneficial to recruiting and just overall how the secondary is going to play going into every year from here on out. And one of the best parts about this defensive back unit is the fact that not only do you have a bunch of young stars already that are going to be starting this year, you have young stars in the making behind them. You're going to have guys like Anquan Fegans and Eric Winters who can step in at safety at a moment's notice and can ball out. They balled out during A-Day. I got to make sure I put the quotes every time I say A-Day. But absolutely ridiculous. And, of course, you got to bring up the transfers, and Rayon Strader is going to be able to step in right away at DB, either behind Kyan Lee or behind Jay Crawford, a guy who was like all MAC defensive player of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Who is an absolute dog. MAC cornerback of the year, All-American and All-MAC by College Ball News. 53 tackles, 2 interceptions, 19 pass deflections last year as a sophomore. Super stoked to see how Rayon Strader kind of moves from the MAC to the SEC. And I think, again, you're talking about a guy who could start for any team in the country, and he's going to be Auburn's, I don't want to say sixth man, but guy coming in right away. And other freshmen, Blake Woodby is going to be an absolute dog. He already has been in practices. This defense is just loaded from top to bottom, and it's a bunch of freshmen, it's a bunch of sophomores that are just ready to play. Elijah Melendez is going to be one of those guys you can rely on early linebacker-wise. That's a true freshman. Amaris Williams, you brought him back from inside the portal. He was able to keep him around. He's going to be able to help out Keldrick Falk and give him some breaks. Jamonta Waller, same thing with him. You have guys all over the place. You're going to see a lot of Xavier Atkins, a linebacker out of LSU, going to be in the backup. Robert Woodyard and DeMarcus Riddick. You have all of these stars in the making. Amon Langanis from last year going to be able to step in and play a bigger role than he did last year. Joe Phillips, DJ Barber, linebacker and edge rusher. You have so much talent. Dallas Walker the fourth. I think I earlier said Jeremiah Smith. I meant to say Jared Smith. Just dudes everywhere that are ready to play. This team, again, talent-wise, is like top 15 in the country. Talent-wise, this team is top 15 in the country. And ultimately, I think that Auburn is going to surprise a few people this year. I just picked the wrong thing. I think Auburn's going to surprise a lot of teams this year. A lot of people this year. Again, I'm sticking with my guns here when I say this. And, of course, when we get closer to the season starting, or when I say closer, 12 weeks out before the season starts, I think we're about 100-something days college ball starts. I'll start doing a game-by-game analysis going before preseason and doing one during the season. But I'm staying true to what I said. I truly think Auburn's going to go 8-4 this year. And it's not, and this is one of the years where I just I don't feel like I'm bugging. There we go. Don't put the G at the end. I don't think I'm bugging about this. I think talent-wise, Auburn is there. Auburn has all the pieces finally. And you're talking about what he free said in his first ever press conference. He needs 3 recruiting classes. Well, he got it. And he has, I want to say it was like a top 25 class, and then it was top 10 twice. Transfer portal wise, you were always attacking the portal. You needed a quarterback. You finally got one in Jackson Arnold who can do all the things that you need him to do on the field and more. You just need to centralize it and to, if you keep the turnovers to a minimum, and then everything else will just be smooth like butter. But again, look at it. Like Baylor's going to be a first true test of the year. on Friday, August 29th. And how Auburn plays there will determine how I think Auburn's going to play in week 4 versus Oklahoma. Because I think you're looking at if you start the season off 4-0, I think you're in great shape. And if you go to College Station and are able to take down Texas A&M, I think you're even in better shape going into that Georgia game. But 8-4 is where I'm standing, 7-5 at the worst. And I think that's being generous to a floor, because this is how talented this team is. And that's where I kind of feel like I'm bugging by saying 8-4 is like the lowest I see. But I think 7-5 at the worst. But this is a team that could just put a banner just to make sure I enunciate this. This is a team that could go 10-2 or better. That's just how talented this team is. Now remember, could go 10-2 or better. I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying they will. They could go. That's the talent that I'm seeing on this team. Now, the only holes around this team are youth and possibly at linebacker depth. Everywhere else, they've pretty much hit. Offensive line should be much improved from last year. Wide receiver group is, surprisingly enough, much improved from last year. Strictly, you lost KLS, and that was really your only producer from last year's wide receiver group that's not returning this year. But you're bringing in more. You brought in Horatio and Eric. Great. You're able to improve upon that from last year. Quarterback, if it's not an improvement, I don't know what to tell you. Running backs, you lose Jarquez, but I think you're going to have more of a stable group of running backs with good guys that are going to get shared carries. That way Jarquez isn't just given the ball every other time, even though Jarquez could carry the ball 50 times a game and probably would just break records. But that's probably the only – and tight end, of course, you lose Valdo. But I just don't think tight end is going to be a massive focus this season. So I'm sticking to my guns here. 8-4 is my prediction. Of course, throughout the offseason, we're going to have episodes dedicated to a week-by-week analysis of each game before the season. And, of course, during the season, we'll have that again. There are going to be 2 Baylor, 2 Ball State, 2 South Alabama, 2 Oklahoma, preseason and then during season videos talking about those. But stay tuned for that, and we'll continue the conversation about Auburn football going forward. So thank you all for tuning in to some of the College Loop podcast. I want to thank everybody who tuned in, commented, and all that jazz. Don't forget to use hashtag Feeling Loopy to let us know that you are checking out the Loop. Don't forget to like and follow on right here on YouTube. Also check us out on social media platforms, literally all of them: Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works on the College Loop. Again, subscribe to the YouTube. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. Tomorrow is my birthday, and it'd be a nice little birthday gift to wake up to. And 58 people had followed the College Loop. Just saying, be a great little birthday gift. Going to turn into the big 2-5 tomorrow. So thank you all for tuning in to the College Loop podcast. I want to thank, again, I can't thank you all enough for tuning in. But with that being said, thanks for watching yet again. And as always, War Eagle.